Water was falling from the ceiling in thin, shaky lines. At first, the guards thought it was just condensation. But then, the alarm for structural break level 1 started screaming. Inside Camp 009, the world's only underwater prison, no one ever wanted to hear that alarm. The lights flickered, metal groaned, and deep in cell block D, a prisoner everyone thought was harmless stepped out of his cell without anyone opening the door. The guards froze. He looked straight into the camera and whispered, "It's happening again." Then the floor shook, and the water began to rise. Cut. How did a prison like this even exist? And why did they lock people this dangerous underwater? To understand that, we have to go back to the beginning. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below with your thoughts, and give it a like. It really helps keeps you updated with more awesome content. Camp 009 wasn't on any map. It sat almost 80 feet beneath the coast, hidden under the waves. Only a few governments even admitted it was real. It was built for one purpose: to hold people too dangerous or too secret to ever see daylight again. No windows, no fresh air, just steel walls, recycled oxygen, and the constant sound of water pressing down from above. For years, everything seemed fine, quiet, controlled. A perfect underwater prison. Until the day they brought in prisoner 1092. Nobody knew his real name. No fingerprints on record. No past. No family. Just one note in his file. High risk. Never allow him near external walls. The guards didn't understand why. He was calm, soft-spoken, didn't fight, didn't yell. But strange things began happening after he arrived. Lights blinking at the same hour every night. Pressure doors unlocking by themselves. Security cameras showing shadows that didn't match any prisoner. Still, the warden said it was technical issues. Camp 009 was old. Systems were aging. Nothing to worry about. But the guards whispered among themselves. They said the ocean didn't like him. They said the walls changed when he walked by. Nobody listened until the first leak. It started on a quiet Tuesday. Two guards were doing a routine check when they heard a tiny sound. Pop. Like metal bending under weight. One guard tapped the wall. It tapped back. Before they could radio it in, the metal creaked again, louder, deeper, and a thin crack slipped across the corridor wall like a silver line. A droplet formed. Then another. Then the wall burst open. Water shot out like a fire hose, knocking one guard off his feet and slamming him into the steel railing. Alarms exploded across the prison. Red lights flashed. Sirens wailed. And as the guards tried to close the emergency pressure doors, they realized prisoner 1092 was missing. Not hurt. Not swept away. Gone. Just gone. As the last pressure door began sliding shut, trapping the flooding section behind it, one guard ran forward shouting, "Wait! Someone's in there!" But it was too late. The door sealed. And through the narrow glass window, in the rising water on the other side, prisoner 1092 slowly stood up, staring back, smiling. The guards backed away in fear. Because, somehow, even with the water climbing past his waist, he wasn't trying to escape. He was waiting. The guards stood frozen. Through the small, thick window of the pressure door, they watched prisoner 1092 standing in the rising water, calm, still almost like he had been expecting the flood. Water swirled around him. Cold, dark, heavy, enough pressure to crush bone. But he didn't move, didn't panic, didn't even shiver. Instead, he lifted his hand and tapped the glass. Once. The guards jumped back. No inmate should survive a breach. No inmate should stay standing. And no inmate should ever be that calm. The senior guard, Officer Hale, stepped forward. "Keep your eyes open," he said quietly. His voice shook. "No one says a word about this." "Not yet." Another guard whispered. "But sir, how is he still alive?" Hale swallowed hard. He didn't have an answer. Not one that made sense. The guards hurried down the hallway toward the control room, boots slamming against the metal floor. The whole prison hummed with tension, like the ocean itself was angry. When they burst into the command center, the warden was already there. Warden Calhoun, a tall, cold man with a scar down the side of his face. Someone who never showed fear. But today he didn't look calm. He looked like he'd been expecting this moment for years. "What section?" he asked. "Block D, sir," Hale replied. "Wall breach. Level 1 damage. And prisoner 1092 is still inside." Calhoun's jaw tightened. He survived the breach? No one answered. He already knew the truth. The warden stepped toward the monitor. A live feed showed the flooded hallway. And there, half underwater, was 1092. Still staring at the camera. Still smiling. Calhoun turned away from the screen. "Lock down the entire block," he ordered. "No movement. No transfers. No one gets near him. I want full pressure scans on every wall within 20 feet. "Yes, sir," a junior officer asked carefully. "Why 20 feet?" Calhoun's eyes narrowed. "Because that's how far he can reach." The room went silent. "Reach what?" another guard whispered. But the warden didn't answer. The guards followed orders, sealing every door leading to Block D. Thick metal slabs slid down. Hydraulic locks clicked. Warning lights glowed red. Camp 009 had many secrets, but none as hidden as why 1092 was brought there. Most prisoners were dangerous, criminals, hardened, violent. But 1092? He was different. He had been found alone at sea 4 years earlier, floating beside a wrecked research vessel with no ID, no injuries, and no explanation. When they pulled him out of the water, his heartbeat was slow, too slow, lower than what should have been possible. Doctors couldn't understand it. Scientists were called in. They couldn't explain it either. Whatever he had become, he wasn't normal. And Camp 009 was chosen because it was the deepest, strongest, most isolated prison they had. They thought the ocean would contain him. They were wrong. Officer Hale waited until the room cleared, then quietly approached the warden. "Sir, with respect, what is he?" Calhoun didn't look at him. Instead, he closed the door and spoke in a low voice. "Years ago, before you joined, there were rumors of experiments off the coast. Experiments on adapting humans to deep water conditions." Hale's blood ran cold. "Are you saying he's—" "I'm saying," Calhoun interrupted, "that 1092 was never supposed to survive." Hale stared at him. "So why keep him alive? Why not release him to the Navy? Or the government?" Calhoun turned slowly. "Because they're the ones who put him here." Before Hale could ask more, the radio crackled to life with a voice from engineering. "Control, this is maintenance. We're detecting a second pressure drop near Block D. Same area as the first breach." The warden froze. "Impossible," he whispered. "We sealed everything." The radio hissed again. "No, sir, this one isn't from the wall." Hale and Calhoun exchanged a look. "Where then?" Hale asked. The maintenance worker's voice trembled. "It's coming from the floor." Suddenly, every monitor in the control room flickered. The camera feed for Block D switched to static, then came back, and the guards gasped. Because 1092 was no longer standing in the water. He was gone, but the water level was still rising. From below, as the camera zoomed in, something horrifying came into view. The steel floor was bending. From the outside, something under Camp 009 was pushing its way in. The warden whispered, "Oh no." He woke it up. A deep, low rumble shook the entire prison. Lights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, a massive boom echoed through the walls, and the pressure alarms began screaming. The whole prison vibrated like a giant metal drum. Dust fell from ceiling vents. Lights swayed. Pipes shook so hard they clanged against the walls. Officer Hale grabbed a railing to keep from falling. Is that an earthquake? No, the warden said quietly. His face had gone pale. It's coming from directly under us. Another rumble hit, stronger. This time, it made the floor jump under their boots. Camp 009 wasn't built to move. It was supposed to be still, solid, unshakable. But now, it felt like something was lifting it. The guards stared at the screens. Water in Block D splashed violently, rising higher with every shake. Loose pipes floated. A metal grate popped off the floor and shot upward. And where the grate had been, a dark hole was forming. Not normal, not natural, perfectly round. A guard whispered, "Is something digging into us?" No one answered. They all had the same thought. Something down there, something deep, wasn't supposed to be awake. The engineering team raced into the control room carrying tablets and pressure scanners. "Warden, we have a problem," the chief engineer said, breathless. "We know," Calhoun replied. "What's the pressure reading?" The chief swallowed. "We're losing stability under Section D." He showed the screen. It displayed a huge red zone under the prison. Pressure rising fast. Temperature climbing. Officer Hale frowned. "Temperature? Why temperature?" The engineer shook his head. "Something is heating the water beneath us." "That's impossible," another guard muttered. "This deep, the water stays freezing. Unless something was down there, creating heat." The engineer zoomed in on the map. "There's movement right under the floor." Hale stared. "Movement from what?" The chief engineer didn't blink. "I don't know, but it's big." Down in the cell blocks, inmates were shouting and banging on their doors. Some were praying. Some were yelling that the whole place was sinking. Others said the ocean was angry. One prisoner shouted, "Let us out. Something's crawling under us." Another yelled, "I heard metal snap. The floor is cracking." The guards tried to calm them, but panic spread faster than commands. And then every cell door light turned red. Automatic lockdown. No one could be moved now. The guards exchanged terrified looks. If the floor gave way, no one could get out in time. Warden Calhoun didn't scare easily. But right now, he looked like someone who knew more than he wanted to admit. Officer Hale stepped closer. "Sir, that thing under the prison, is it connected to 1092? Calhoun didn't respond. He just stared at the monitor, showing the dark hole growing in Block D. "Hale," he finally said, voice low. "When 1092 arrived, something changed in the water outside. Sensors started picking up strange echoes, patterns, like something was responding to him." Hale felt his stomach twist. Responding? Like listening to him. The warden didn't look away from a screen. Yes. Another rumble hit. So strong loose tools fell off shelves. This one wasn't like before. It wasn't a shake. It was a pull. Something below the prison had grabbed onto the structure, and it was dragging downward. Suddenly, Block D's camera feed cut to static. The guards leaned in. Then the screen flickered back on, and the entire room gasped. The dark hole in the floor was no longer a hole. It was now wide open, like a giant metal door had been punched upward. Water churned violently inside it. Something huge was pushing up through the floor, bending steel like paper. The camera zoomed in automatically, and there, rising slowly from the darkness, was a massive shape, a silhouette, too large to be human, too slow to be a machine. Beside it, standing on the edge of the broken floor, was prisoner 1092, calm, dry, staring directly at the camera. He lifted one hand and pointed upward, toward the surface. Then the feed cut out again, this time for good. The prison shook harder than ever. Alarms blared. Structural failure in progress. Evacuate, evacuate. But it was already too late. Something from the deep had arrived. Red lights spun across the hallways. Sirens screamed in every corner of Camp 009. Officer Hale ran with 2 guards toward the lower decks, trying to reach the backup control panel. The prison shook so hard the walls rippled like they were breathing. "Move! Move!" Hale yelled. "If the lower deck fails, the whole place is gone." A guard stumbled as the floor dropped under them for half a second, then snapped back up, like something had grabbed the prison, and let go. The guards exchanged terrified looks. Camp 009 wasn't just shaking anymore. It was jerking, like it was caught in the grip of something alive. Meanwhile, in the main control room, Warden Calhoun was trying to reboot the Block D camera feed. But every time the screen flickered on, it showed only one frame, one single image. Prisoner 1092 standing at the edge of that giant hole, pointing upward, frozen, unmoving, like the system refused to show anything else. Calhoun slammed a fist on the console. "Come on, give me something." But the system wouldn't budge, as if someone or something didn't want them to see what was happening in Block D. The warden backed away from the console, breathing hard. He whispered, "It's following him, just like before." As Hale reached the doorway, the floor behind him finally gave way. A metal panel shot upward, and something enormous, and dark, and smooth rushed up with it. Not a creature, not a machine, something in between. A massive shape slammed into the room with the force of a truck, sending water exploding outward. The shockwave knocked Hale clear into the hallway. He hit the ground hard and slid across the floor. The door slammed shut behind him as the thing inside pounded against it. Boom, 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 trying to force its way out. Hale crawled backward, shaking. From inside the room, above the pounding, he heard a sound that chilled him to the bone. A deep, slow breath. Not the breath of a man. Not the breath of anything he knew, but a breath that had echoed through the deep long before Camp 009 was even built. Hale whispered, "Oh no." It got in. The pounding grew louder, and the door began to bend. The steel door, built to withstand explosions, pressure shifts, and full-force prisoner riots, began to bend inward. A deep dent pushed through the middle. Metal squealed. Bolts snapped like toothpicks. Boom, boom, boom. Each hit was harder than the last. Officer Hale scrambled to his feet, heart racing so fast he could barely breathe. He knew one thing. If that door opened, whatever was behind it would be inside the hall with him. He grabbed his radio. "Control." Something broke into lower deck control. "It's trying to get out." Static. The prison's communication lines were failing. The door struck again. This time, so hard the hinges ripped halfway out of the wall. Water poured around the edges, rushing across the floor toward Hale's boots. He turned and sprinted down the hallway. Behind him, the door finally gave way. Hale ran as fast as his legs would go. The hall lights flickered. Sirens wailed. The whole prison creaked under the pressure of something moving where no creature should be. The radio crackled weakly. "Hale. Hale, do you copy?" It was the warden. "Yes." Hale gasped. "It's loose. Something is in the lower decks. Something huge." The warden paused, then asked a question Hale didn't expect. "Did you see it?" "No. I didn't look back." "Good," the warden said sharply. "Do not look at it. No matter what." Hale skidded around a corner. "Why? What happens if I look?" But the radio cut out again. Behind him, something heavy splashed into the hallway, like a giant body dragging through water. Hale didn't turn around. Every instinct screamed at him not to. Meanwhile, in the main control room, Warden Calhoun locked the doors behind him. The guards inside stared at him with wide eyes. "Sir, what's happening down there? What broke in?" Calhoun took a slow breath. He looked older now, tired, worn down by secrets. "There is something you all need to know," he said. The guards leaned closer. "Camp 009 wasn't built to hold prisoners," the warden continued. "It was built to hold something that researchers found in the deep trench years ago." A guard whispered, "You mean a creature?" The warden didn't answer directly. Instead, he said, "The trench walls showed signs of tunnels. Not natural ones. Something had carved them. Something big. Another guard swallowed hard. What happened to the research team? The warden looked at the floor. They never came back. The room fell silent. And 1092? Another guard asked softly. What does he have to do with all this? Calhoun stared at the dark monitors. He was found near the trench. Alone. No sub. No oxygen tank. No gear. Just floating in the cold water. Completely alive. He turned to the guards. And the sensors picked up something else that day. What? Someone asked. The warden spoke in a whisper. Something was swimming toward him. Back in the hallway, Hale reached a stairwell and slammed the door shut behind him. He took the steps 2 at a time. The metal stairs vibrated under his boots. Below him, the sound echoed upward. Clang, clang, clang. Something was climbing the stairs. Slowly, deliberately. Hale's breath hitched. He didn't look back. He couldn't look back. Every step he took felt heavier, slower, like the air itself was thickening. He reached the next level, burst through the door, and locked it behind him. Then, boom, the stairwell door bulged inward. Dust fell from a ceiling. A second hit followed. Boom. The hinge twisted. A guard at the end of the hallway yelled, Hale, this way. Hale ran toward him. And then the stairwell door began to open. Just an inch. Then another. A cold, wet breath slid through the gap and spread across the hallway like fog. Every hair on Hale's neck stood up. What was coming through that door was not human. The guard ahead of Hale waved frantically. Hurry. It's coming. But halfway toward him, something happened. The lights above Hale flickered. Once, twice. Then every single light in the hallway went out. Total darkness swallowed everything. Hale froze. He couldn't see the floor, couldn't see the walls, couldn't see the guard who had called to him. Then, a deep, heavy thud echoed behind him. Something had stepped into the hallway. Closer. Another thud. Closer still. Hale didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Then, out of the darkness, a faint glow appeared. A pale, dim blue light, coming from the creature's chest. It illuminated just enough for Hale to see the outline. Tall, bent, massive, arms too long, skin too smooth. And worst of all, it was facing him. Hale's heart stopped. The creature lifted its head slowly, and 2 glowing eyes opened. The moment Ramirez called for a lockdown, everything inside Camp 009 shifted. Klaxons blared through the station, long, low warning tones that echoed off the steel walls. Red lights flashed across the ceilings, turning the entire base into a pulsing maze of shadows. The guards rushed to the armory. The inmates were forced against the walls. And the ocean outside felt heavier, darker, like it knew something was happening inside. Ramirez marched Jordan Lockhart and Devin Pike toward the glass corridor, the long underwater hallway that connected the detention wing to the command center. It was the only part of Camp 009 where you could see the ocean on both sides. A 3-inch thick wall of reinforced acrylic separated them from millions of gallons of deep-sea water. Normally, Jordan avoided looking out. But this time, he couldn't help it. Because as the red emergency lights flickered, something outside the glass was moving. At first, it looked like a shadow. Long, slow, silent. Too big to be a shark. Too smooth to be a whale. Devin whispered, "Tell me you see that." Ramirez froze mid-step. He turned. The shadow drifted closer to the corridor. Jordan felt his chest tighten. Then, the creature's outline slid into view. Not an animal. Not a machine. A submersible suit. Like a diver. But bigger. Bulkier. Built for depth-crushing pressure. Someone was out there. A human, or something human-shaped, walking along the sea floor. Ramirez muttered, "That's not one of ours." Jordan pressed closer to the glass, eyes wide. The suit turned its helmet toward the corridor. And then it tapped the glass with a metal finger. Tap, tap, tap. Devin stepped back instantly. Ramirez pulled his weapon. Jordan whispered, "How is anyone alive out there?" That suit is ancient. Because he had seen that exact design before. Just once. In a classified file. A file tied to the inmate who had vanished years ago. The one Camp 009 pretended never existed. And as the helmet's faceplate lit up with a faint green glow, Jordan realized something terrifying. He knew that suit. He knew the person inside it. And that person was not supposed to be alive. Before Ramirez could react, boom, the suit slammed its metal fist against the glass. A thin crack shot across the corridor wall, spiderwebbing outward. Ramirez shouted, "Move! Move now!" Jordan and Devin sprinted forward as alarms began screaming. Hull breach detected. Evacuate corridor immediately. The shadow outside raised its fist again. The second hit was coming. And if the glass broke, Camp 009 wouldn't just flood. It would collapse. The second hit shook the entire glass corridor. Jordan could feel the vibration through the floor. A deep, heavy thud that rattled his teeth. Devin shouted, "It's gonna break. Go." The crack in the wall raced across the acrylic like lightning. Tiny streams of water began trickling through, spraying the air like mist. The ocean was pushing in, hard. Ramirez grabbed Jordan by the back of his jumpsuit and shoved him forward. "Run. Move." They sprinted toward the pressure door at the end of the corridor. Every step felt slower, heavier, like the ocean was already dragging at their legs. Behind them, thud. A third strike. More water burst through the crack, hitting the floor with a sharp hiss. Devin slipped, slammed into the wall, and scrambled up. Jordan reached him and pulled him forward. "Don't stop. Don't look back." But he did look back. And what he saw almost made his knees buckle. The diver's suit outside was now fully pressed against the glass. Its helmet inches from the crack. Its glowing green faceplate staring inside. Like it was choosing who to kill first. Jordan's voice cracked. Why is he doing this? Ramirez punched a code into the pressure door's control panel. Nothing happened. The panel flashed red. Lockdown override disabled. Ramirez cursed. The system froze when the breach alarms triggered. Hold on. Bang. The suit slammed its fist again. The crack split wide open. A violent spray of salt water blasted into the corridor, soaking the floor. Devin yelled, "We're out of time." Jordan's heart hammered. Ramirez grabbed a fire axe from the emergency box and smashed the panel cover. Sparks flew. The door groaned. Jordan pulled Devin behind him as water flooded in faster, ankle deep, then climbing. The corridor lights flickered as if the station itself was panicking. The ocean roared through the widening hole, the pressure screaming. And then, Krayak, the entire wall bowed inward. Jordan felt the world tilt. Devin screamed, "Ramirez, move." Ramirez swung the axe one last time. Clank. The pressure door jerked, then began sliding open. Slow, too slow. Water surged in, slamming Jordan forward. He grabbed the edge of the door frame as Ramirez pushed from behind. Devin slipped again, sliding toward the breach. Jordan turned, arm outstretched. "Devin, take my hand." Devin reached. Their fingers touched. But then, something outside the corridor moved again. The suit leaned in. Its hand pressed against the opening crack. Then, slowly, deliberately, it reached inside. A metal hand stretching into the corridor like a claw. Devin froze in horror. Jordan's voice tore out of him. "Devin, move now." But before Devin could react, the arm grabbed his ankle and yanked. Devin's scream ripped through the corridor as the metal hand locked around his ankle. Cold, heavy, unbreakable. Water surged harder, dragging him backward across the flooded floor. Jordan lunged again. "Devin, grab me, now." Devin swung his arms wildly, trying to catch Jordan's outstretched hand, but the rushing water was too strong. His fingers slipped away again and again. Ramirez dropped the axe and dove forward, adding his weight. Together, he and Jordan grabbed Devin's wrists. Their feet braced against the door frame as the ocean tried to rip him away. For a moment, the three of them were locked in a deadly tug of war. Devin being pulled one way, Jordan and Ramirez the other. The corridor creaked. The crack widened. Salt water exploded into the room like a hose. Devin shouted, "It's pulling me. Oh God, it's pulling me under." Jordan gritted his teeth. "Hold on. Don't you let go." Ramirez roared over the alarms. "The suit can't fit through the hole. It's too big. If we hold him, we can." But he didn't get to finish, because the figure outside began bending, contorting, twisting its suit in a way no human body should move. Jordan's eyes widened. What is that thing doing? The helmet rotated unnaturally, almost 180 degrees. Then the suit's shoulders compressed, the joints collapsing inward like they were made of rubber. Devin panicked. "Ramirez, it's coming in. It's coming in." And it was. Whatever was inside, that deep-sea exosuit was folding itself smaller, forcing its way through the crack in the corridor wall inch by inch. Metal scraped. Glass groaned. The ocean howled. Jordan felt Devin slipping. Ramirez yelled, "Pull. Now." They heaved backward with everything they had. Muscles burning, fingers numb, boots sliding across the wet floor. Devin screamed, "It's got me, it's got me." Jordan shouted back, "Not today." For half a second. Just half. It felt like they were winning. Devin's body moved an inch closer to them. 2 inches. Ramirez shouted, "Keep going." Then, click. A sound Jordan had never heard before. A small metallic ratchet sound from inside the suit's wrist. The grip around Devin's ankle tightened. Not like a hand, like a clamp. A machine clamp. Devin's scream turned into a harsh, cracking shriek. "It's crushing my leg. It's crushing my leg." Jordan pulled harder. Crash. A huge section of the glass corridor wall tore open. A violent blast of water blasted inside, slamming all 3 of them into the pressure door. Jordan's ears rang. His eyesight blurred. He felt Devin being ripped from his hands. He tried to hold on, but the ocean was stronger. Devin's grip slipped free. Jordan screamed, "Devin." And in the chaos, through the exploding wall of water, Jordan saw the figure yank Devin out through the breach and into the dark ocean. His body vanished into the blackness below. Gone. The breach alarms reached a new pitch. Critical failure. Section collapse imminent. Ramirez grabbed Jordan, forcing him through the half-open pressure door. The last thing Jordan saw before the door slammed shut was the deep-sea figure outside, turning its glowing helmet back toward him, like it wanted him next. Jordan and Ramirez slammed the pressure door behind them. Water surged in behind the breach, spilling into the hall. The door groaned, but held, barely. The red emergency lights cast a trembling glow across the steel walls, illuminating the chaos left behind. Jordan's chest heaved. He could still hear Devin's scream echoing in his mind. The memory of the glowing green helmet, the clamp, the crushing grip burned in his vision. Ramirez pressed himself against the wall, trying to catch his breath. "We can't stay here," he said. "Whatever that thing is, it's coming for the rest of us." Jordan nodded, swallowing hard. "I know. But where do we go? Every exit is flooded or broken." The warden's voice crackled through the radio. "Jordan, Ramirez, you need to get to the upper deck. Head to the airlocks. Now." Jordan looked at Ramirez. The corridor behind them was gone. Nothing but rising water and twisted steel. Above them, the air vents were shaking. Something down there had shifted the entire prison. The warden's instructions led them to a small, rarely used service ladder. It was cramped, narrow, and coated in condensation. Rust dripped from the walls. Each step they climbed made the metal groan. As they ascended, Jordan realized something strange. The ladder wasn't vibrating like the rest of the prison. It was stable, as if the structure itself knew to protect this path. Ramirez paused. "Why would the warden send us here?" Jordan shook his head. "I don't know, but we don't have a choice." Halfway up, a rumble shook the ladder. Water splashed beneath them, spraying from the broken corridor below. Jordan gripped the ladder tightly, trying to ignore the fear creeping up his spine. Then they reached a small hatch. It led to a service corridor that ran along the upper deck, dry, untouched, and eerily silent. Jordan swallowed. This doesn't feel right. Too quiet. The radio crackled again. The warden's voice was low, urgent. Jordan listened carefully. 1092 isn't just a prisoner. He's connected to the thing below. He can control it, guide it, keep him alive, and it follows him. If he dies, it reacts violently. You don't want to know what that means. Jordan froze. Connected? How? He's human. The warden's tone hardened. He's not fully human anymore. Whatever the trench did to him, it changed him. The researchers knew it. That's why Camp 009 was built. Not to hold him, but to contain what follows him. Ramirez stepped closer. Contain what? You mean the thing we saw? Yes, the warden said quietly. And it's awake now. Jordan and Ramirez moved through the upper deck corridor cautiously. Every shadow seemed alive. Every echo of dripping water made them jump. Suddenly, the base shook violently. The upper deck lights flickered. A deep, resonant hum reverberated through the metal walls. From below, Jordan's stomach sank. It wasn't just the water. It wasn't just the structure. Whatever was under Camp 009 was moving, and it was massive. Ramirez whispered, teeth chattering. It's huge, bigger than the entire lower deck. Jordan swallowed. Then a thought hit him. If it's bigger than the lower deck, then it can't be contained by walls or doors or steel. A sudden crash echoed from the floor below. The base shuddered. A chunk of steel plating fell from the ceiling. Jordan knew it instantly. It's coming for the upper deck next. As they reached the junction leading to the airlocks, the floor trembled violently. A massive shadow flickered across the corridor wall, a shape so large it blocked the emergency lights. Jordan froze. Ramirez grabbed his arm. Don't look. Don't. You'll regret it if you look. But it was too late. From beneath the floor, something enormous broke through. Steel splintered, water exploded upward, and the corridor flooded instantly. The shadow rose into view. It was alive, and it was coming straight for them. Jordan's heart pounded. Ramirez could barely breathe. And at the same moment, a familiar green glow appeared in the dark water. It was 1092. He was smiling. But this time, his smile wasn't reassuring. It was warning them. Jordan and Ramirez raced toward the airlocks, water surging higher with each step. Metal groaned under the pressure of the ocean, and the base tilted slightly as if the deep below was testing it. Jordan looked at the green glow in the water. 1092 was floating, almost effortlessly, in the rising flood. He didn't move toward them. He only watched. The warden's voice came over the radio, tense. Get to the airlocks. 1092 will guide the creature, but you need to get out. Do not engage it. The word guide chilled Jordan to the bone. The creature below wasn't attacking randomly. It was following orders or instincts, directly tied to 1092. As they reached the airlock, the corridor shook violently. The water rose above Jordan's waist. He could hear something massive moving beneath the base. A column of water erupted from the broken floor below. A hulking, dark shape surged upward, towering above the corridors. Steel bent. Lights shattered. Pressure alarms screamed like a banshee. The creature's glowing eyes scanned the upper deck. It paused as if searching for something. Then it stopped. Its attention was fixed on 1092. 1092 raised his hand. The creature halted instantly, like it understood. The deep-sea terror roared, a sound that shook every bolt and panel in Camp 009, then retreated slightly, following the unspoken command. Jordan exhaled a shaky breath. Ramirez muttered, "He's controlling it, or it recognizes him. He is the key." They entered the airlock chamber. Emergency seals clicked into place. The airlock pumped out water and compressed the space. The base trembled one last time. Through the reinforced windows, Jordan watched the creature retreat below. The green glow of 1092 faded as he sank into the depths, disappearing into the darkness. The warden's voice crackled over the radio. "You made it. The base might survive. But 1092, he will always be connected to what's down there. Camp 009 will never be safe. Jordan slumped against the wall. Ramirez just stared at the hatch. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Outside, the ocean pressed down like a living thing, dark and endless. Inside, the silence was heavy. The only sound was the slow drip of water and the echo of a nightmare that had not yet ended. Camp 009 was still standing, but barely. The lower decks were flooded. Many corridors were destroyed. The creature had returned to the depths. No one knew if it would come back. No one knew if 1092 had survived. The prisoners and guards left behind were either rescued or trapped in damaged sections. The world above remained unaware. Camp 009 was officially offline for maintenance. A cover story about structural failure would be released. But deep below the waves, something waited. Patient, alive, and connected. And in the center of it all, floating silently through the darkness, 1092. The man who was no longer fully human. The man who controlled the terror beneath the sea. And the world would never know what truly lived at the bottom of the ocean.